people to come and discuss with us. To pay attention, and please don't leave here without taking something. The topic of this day, I believe, is rich, and let's pay attention, and so that at the end of this summit, to testify. Thank you very much. Please be comfortably seated and enjoy the discussion. I wish all the discussants a happy celebration. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. So the next thing on our agenda is the debate, and this will be presented by our learned senior, the president of ET Aboki, the YLF national chairman. It's currently on its way. So without wasting much time, moving on to the keynote address and question of Maxwell Kion. Please, a round of applause.
Good morning, everyone. Let me begin by saying that when I was initially approached by the YLF, the understanding I had was that the United States another ISF was going to present this paper, and I and my good friend, classmate Idris Mohammed, we are going to simply sit along with one or two other persons to discuss the paper. Eventually, I was informed that the NSC was not going to be available to present the paper, and to my shock, I was informed that I would have to do the honors of presenting the paper while the NSC, along with others, discuss the paper. My first inclination was to say definitely not. And I had my reasons. I know that the NSC chaired the committee of the MD and discussed the end of the ambassador's tenure and the tenure of the president of the MD. And so I saw it as putting me in a position where, like a student, I would be speaking about a matter for which my professors were going to be sitting and assessing me. I was not too comfortable with that arrangement. However, I decided that I was going to still accept speak today, and I hoped, and I still hope, that at the end of today's interaction, I would have been able to stir up inside all of us a few thoughts that we can explore a little further, so that all of us can get better when it comes to discussion of the good nation and, of course, the issue of law office management, as a tool is. Now, having said that, the theme of the subject today is lawyers' regulation vis-a-vis law office management, challenges, and prospects.
اظن الشرف يا اخي
الحمد لله
بارك الله
تمام شكرا
I begin by saying that
الساعه بحسن كاشه
ما شاء الله
lawyers' remuneration talks about what lawyers earn or what they receive as gratification for the services they render. While law office management, on the other hand, suggests the entire process or procedure adopted by the law office to facilitate the day-to-day running of that office. Now, in trying to set the tone for our discussion today, I've stated here that my understanding of what I've been called to today is to set the tone for the discussion on the theme of this committee, which is lawyers' remuneration vis-a-vis law office management challenges and prospects. And I have stated that, assuming I'm right, I will pray your indulgence to allow me to speak on a tweaked topic, which I state here as managing the law office in a manner that makes it possible for lawyers to get properly remunerated for their services. I will take it for granted that I have your permission to tweak the topic in the manner that I have done. Do I have your permission? Okay, so I will speak from that angle, hoping that at the end, God gets the discussion. Now, it's important to say that in order for a judge to practice law, so how do you condition say, well, I decided to do it. There's nothing wrong with that again. Of course, a lot of us are no intention when we protect somebody. Maybe something happened in your life or something. And you told yourself, I'm going to be a lawyer so that you can address this. And that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. However, managing a law office is a business. No matter what your intent or what the ideas or ideals that you have are, managing a law office is a business. And the only way that you can make it work is for you to understand ab initio that managing a law office is exactly like managing a business. Now, not minding the size of your law office or the business, whatever, there are certain fundamentals if you are going to set up a law office. One of the things is that you must have an office space. Without an office space, it will be very difficult to set up a law office. You must also have office supplies and materials. And then you must also have staff, like the lawyers and, of course, support staff. Now, some persons have argued, and they might not be entirely wrong, that in today's world, with the advent of technology as it is, IT and all of this social media, whatever thing, you can actually open an office without a physical structure. That is true. Because you can commence a transaction or you have commenced, work for a client who briefs you online and pursue that engagement from beginning to the end without having need for the client to come visit your office. So it is actually possible to do that. I am, however, one of those who are or who believe in the school of thought that those serious lawyers should practice law from the start. Those serious lawyers should practice law simply on the net or by the use of social media outlets. I agree that they may come in handy, but I insist that for anyone who is actually serious about the practice of law, you should have a law office. Now, if you agree with my suggestion that you should have an office, I will also push my argument a little further to say that for me, I personally believe that the ultimate goal of any lawyer or of any serious lawyer, I'll continue to use the expression serious lawyer. The ultimate goal of any serious lawyer, beyond simply having an office space from where you practice law, should be that you own office. That is my personal belief. I am sure my learned senior, who I have been Esquire has just said for me, I'm sure if you ask me to agree with what I've just said. My very good friend, Idris Mohammed, has also demonstrated that he believes in this school of thought that I'm talking about. So my position is that ultimately, any serious lawyer who takes the practice of law seriously should own an office. It should go beyond simply saying you are renting an office. But in the meantime, when you're talking about renting an office, two fundamental things must come to mind. Number one, space. Number two, location. My first law office was at Lagos Street. I happened to be speak very well. There are days when my office practically has to shut down because of noise. Be serious. The information is that inside the office that allows business without actually need to be able to learn quiet space.
Akan hakuri bayan mukami na ka babban da Allah insha Allah ki hakuri da Allah thank you very much Excellence. Excellence. Fine, sir.
Now, the next issue, of course, becomes office supplies. When I started to practice as a young lawyer, before I actually rented my first office, I ensured that I had bought a computer. I thought that was very fundamental. I also ensured that I had a printer. I also thought that was very fundamental. Within the first year of practice, I bought a photocopy machine. I thought that was very fundamental, and I'll tell you why. Again, this is my personal view and opinion. I think there's something fundamentally different with the idea that a lawyer takes documents from his office to business centers to type, photocopy, and all of that. Why it is actually not, why there's nothing really fundamentally wrong with it, if you look at it, the problem is when you do such things, you expand the scope in terms of the number of persons who come in contact. You are setting up an office, or when you have an office, is ultimately to ensure that most of the work that is done, particularly in terms of typing, photocopying, and all of that, is done within the confines of. So these are things you must consider when you are talking about law office management in the context of the regulation for lawyers and how it should affect the issue of law office management generally. Having said that, of course, you have in your office business papers, files, notepads, stuff, and all of that. So that when you need to produce these documents, they can actually be found in your office, and you don't need to continue to go out every time you do such. Now, lastly, the issue of staff. And I've said here that legal practitioners that is expected when you are setting up a law office, of course, because it is a law office that there should be a lawyer. You can't set up a law office and there are no lawyers. So there should be lawyers in the form of the staff. Of course, it can be a situation where you are practicing on your own or you have multiple persons who are working with you. So there should be staff and, of course, legal practitioners who may fall into the category of partners, associates, or
okay.
there was also the extent that the law office, there should be a secretary, depending on the size of the law office, a manager, a receptionist, a driver, an office assistant, an accountant, depending on the size of the law office. Because not every law office require all of these persons that are said. But of course, as the law office begins to expand, you think that you should have all of these persons employed in the law office. We now come to the question of remuneration for lawyers. And I think remuneration for lawyers, from two broad aspects. Number one, from the point of view of how much money is coming into the law firm as payment for services rendered by the lawyers within the firm. That's the first part. The second part would be how much the individual lawyers in the firm or the other staff are getting paid in terms of remuneration. I don't know if that makes sense. Because first of all, money must be coming into the firm as a result of services you are rendering. And then of course, this money must trickle down to the individual persons or staff who are working within.
Sorry, sir. I will have to disconnect your phone, if you don't mind.
Now I said here that I made the point earlier that the law is about business. It is business, and one of the fundamental things that a business should be able to do is to pay its way to make it possible for it to continue to run. In this sense, if you have a business and you cannot pay rent, there's a problem. You can't continue to run. If you have a business and you cannot pay staff, again there's a problem. You can't continue to run. If you have a business and every time you need to get paper, you need to type something or whatever, it is not available and there's no money to get it, there's a problem. You cannot run. So for a business to run and for a law office to run, the implication would be that there should be enough resources to pay for an office, to pay staff, to get supplies, and then to make some profit that can be plunged back into firm. Now remember, I don't know how many of us are in private practice here. Can I have an idea? Private practice. What about those in public practice, the public bar? Or those who work in the public bar, already you have pension. You have the gratuity. Where is your gratuity if you are working in the private bar? Sir? Your investments. Now, when it comes to the issue of remuneration for lawyers or for law officers, I want you to understand that in charging fees, you are charging not just enough fees to get the job done. You are charging fees that cover insurance. You are charging fees that cover your gratuity. You are charging fees that cover your pension. So when we are talking about remuneration, and I'm talking about a business being able to pay, all of these things I've mentioned, this issue of gratuity and all of that is what the business must be able to pay. One of our colleagues, and I say it's not lightly at all, I say it with every sense of responsibility. One of our colleagues and my very good friend, Malik Makama, has been sick for close to 4 years. He has not practiced law for about 4 years. I begin by saying that he was insist on being paid a consultation fee. That's the beginning point. As simple as this, I think it is a very fundamental issue in the practice of law or in running a law office as a business. When I started practicing law, when I set up my office in 2005, I had a classmate. A primary school classmate who had an issue for which he needed a lawyer. He came to my office. The first thing he came, he took like 3 hours of my time explaining what the problem was. And of course, me, my primary school classmate, I indulged. It took like 3 hours of my time, explained, and I listened. I gave him an idea of what we needed to do. He didn't say anything, he left. About a week later, he came. And then the story began again. He kept me for another 2 or 3 hours, explaining the problem and all that. And I indulged him again. I listened, told him, these are my thoughts of what we need to do. He left. He came back a gentle. Now, of course, I discovered when he leaves, by the time he comes back armed, of course, with some of the information I've given him. And obviously, some information he was getting from some other person. So he marries those information and comes to me and seeks to probe me further. By the time he came, I decided that I need to start charging this fellow a fee. That was how charging consultation fees became an issue. Before then, I didn't charge. And I know there are a lot of lawyers who ordinarily, but for the legal practitioners regulation order, do not charge consultation fees. So by the time he came again, I told him, I said, the first 3 times you came, you were my friend. Now, you are transmitted into a client. So, if I'm going to have any kind of discussion with this matter, I have to pay a fee. He never came. Of course, we didn't discuss any further. He said, okay, you think about it. Go and calculate and come back when he asked me. This is like from 2005 to today, it's almost 20 years. And I've not seen it. I'm sure he's still making calculations. One of the things I've discovered, and I'm grateful that those who put together the legal practitioners remuneration order 2023, insisted on
Thank you so much.
A provision that makes it mandatory for consultation fees to be paid to lawyers. I don't want to keep mentioning my learned senior where I have been. Unfortunately, I mentioned him again. We had this fellow some years ago who was always taking where I have been client to court. Now, he's a very interesting fellow. I knew him while I was working with Jenny Dalton. At a point, he came to my office, briefed me in respect of the matter. Of course, he didn't tell me the matter had been litigated before, and that in respect of the matter, he had briefed like 3 or 4 other lawyers, to pursue the matter for them. He come to me and get my ideas, and then sometimes even get me to file something in court, only for me to file and discover that, either he had litigated the matter before, or he had consulted some other lawyer in respect of it, because by the time I filed, one of the times I filed, why have you called me? I said, So are you aware of the fact that this matter has been stated? I said, how is it stated? And he showed me the document in respect of that particular matter. And one person is like that. Some professional litigants, particularly in the days where you don't charge the instance protection fee, they come to you, sit down with you, they listen, they tell you what their problem is, they get your idea, they go to another person, they keep going around like that. And because nobody is telling them that for you to interact or for us to discuss, you have to pay a particular fee. They keep doing that until they get to a place where they are comfortable, either in terms of charges or whatever, and then of course they pay them and everything, maybe the matter gets settled. But what they would have done at the end of the day is that they come to you, waste your valuable time, get ideas from you, and leave without paying you anything for your service that you are rendering, which is in the first place people listening to them. So I think it is fundamental that the first step for us as lawyers when it comes to this issue of remuneration and of course looking at the law office from the point of view of this being a business is to ensure that when clients come to our office, before we engage with them, insist that they pay. Now, what that does, in my view, is this. Nobody will come to your office now and pay 100,000 naira as a consultation fee and leave and go to the Gabriel's office and agree to pay another 100,000 naira to consult with him and then leave. I've also said here that for us to ensure that we enhance our earnings as lawyers, we should adhere to the legal practitioners' remuneration order. Now, before this order came into being, we had an order in the 1991 order. If you are taking time to look at the 1991 order, you will agree with me that as at 1991, that very order was already obsolete. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, look at that order. Even as at 1991, that order was already obsolete. It was talking about charging as per the first 800 naira, the first 1,000 naira, first. Take time to look at that order. And besides, that order orders so much only about land transactions. And there was no clear-cut method of enforcement at all. Of course, the 2023 order also has some problem with the issue of enforcement. But then, the 2023 order actually holistically looks at the issue of remuneration for lawyers in a manner that makes it possible for lawyers to properly get paid for services that they render. I also said here that lawyers should invest, learn money management. I'll tell you the truth. I've interacted. So you are paying 20 million naira for which you are supposed to make certain calculations, and even if it's to invest just some part of it, you are spending the entire money getting new things. So I think it is important that lawyers learn
Let me call
money management. In today's world, one of the ways we can enhance the kind of inflow that comes to us is by being able to properly harness what technology and all that has to offer. I spoke earlier about the fact that it's possible, depending on how you use social media, to actually get this online. From people you don't know, you never met. So the question is this: I just stopped being secretary of the bar not too long ago, and I'll tell you one of the things I took back. Sure, my friend and classmate Idris have a story to tell that is probably a bit worse than the one I will tell. But while I was secretary of the bar, I was shocked, particularly at the number of young lawyers who would call me and say, I cannot pay my practicing fees online. It used to shock me. As a young lawyer, and you have an Android phone, you can't, even if it's to make mistake and make several wrong payments, you won't do that and eventually pay the correct advice. Honestly, it's not good enough. I can understand lawyers at certain age suggesting that they are having problems, with paying their practicing fees online. But I can't see why a young lawyer, particularly, and when I say young now, I also mean young in the
plug and play. Is the system plug and play? It doesn't charge. It doesn't charge.
For
the time it's been charging, supposed
to maybe for him to be able to interact online.
Remove that first charger.
The next thing I speak of that is that we should develop capacity. It is important that we develop capacity. Now, when I say capacity, I am talking in terms of adding some value to what you already know. It can be in terms of some certificate, some additional knowledge. And you see, the interesting thing is that in today's Nigeria, just by participating in the programs that are being put together by the NBA, you will develop capacity beyond what you imagine. If you can only register and join all of the online learning programs that the NBA only is organizing, you can develop capacity. But there are several other social programs you can join and participate in. Of course, one of the ways to develop capacity is to aspire for certain heights in the profession. We have seated here 2 persons who are fellows of the Chartered Institute of Administrators. That is something to aspire. I know the kind of strange amounts of monies that hit the account of my friend Idris Mohammed every now and again. Even as we're talking today, I had an alert that entered into his account in dollars. Of course, I don't want to go into the story of Ogabiel. These are things we should, think about doing, develop capacity.
This is not charging.
Of course, one of the ways you can develop capacity is to become a student developer. I had a discussion with Kura SCA. Just after I was a meeting, and he told me a story. He said, things that pushes him, and he tell himself that whether he was going to kill him, he was going to mix it, was an experience he had. He was doing a matter for this client on appeal. And one day they just called him for a meeting. And they said he should bring the file. They wanted to discuss. When he got to that meeting, they told him that the board had met and they agreed that a senior advocate should be the one to pursue the matter on their behalf. And that was how they collected the file from him. At this time, he had already prepared a brief. It was just remaining for him to file. So they moved the senior advocate who was in Abuja. We collected the file, went through it, got someone in his office to type the brief that Kura had prepared and simply insert his own name and so that word for word it was Kura's brief that he was filed. He said he was barely paid anything for that matter. It was only like a year or so later that the United States invited him to come and see him. And when he came, the United States told him actually that's our brief. I didn't change anything. I filed the exact question. Take 2 billion naira for a president. That was. He said that experience paid him so much, and he told himself, I must also carry this title of president. So what am I saying?
The system has went down.
There is a kind of capacity you know that
It is not charging.
when you mention certain kinds of monies to clients, they won't even negotiate. I know Oga Habib. Let me not expose it. Let me not expose it. I would have told you of several instances where people come to his office and they will just think out a fee and mention that they don't correct. In fact, Kura told me again. Let me talk about something that Kura told me. He said, some persons came to briefing, and I'm saying this in every sense of responsibility, so that we appreciate how serious it is for us to aspire to be better. Because ultimately, what will make us learn more is that we develop capacity and we are better. He said, some persons came to briefing, and when he was not too interested in the matter. So in his mind, he calculated that the way he was going to pay them off was to charge them a fee he believed they could not pay. So he simply told them, just calculated, looked at them, assessed them, and said, okay, pay 25 million. And you must pay the sum in not more than 2 installments. First installment will be paid this week, and then give them a time frame to pay the second installment. And they said, why not to pay? And all of a sudden, he started recalculating on how he was going to make the condition a little more stringent so that they don't pay and you run away from the brief. But my point is, when you put yourself in a place, it becomes easy for you to charge some kind of fees so that you are properly regulated for your services and you can actually make the business of God to pay. Now, I spoke about the 2023 inflation order. What it attempts to do is to determine fees that are paid for services rendered. I had made a classification saying aside fees that come to the office, there is a question of fees that are paid to lawyers. Unfortunately,
Okay, sir. However, yes, thank you, sir.
Does not talk at all about payment of emoluments to law practitioners practicing within the law firm. And I think that is one of the failings of that order. Because without any body of documents, see what you pay a lawyer in a firm, young lawyers will continue to suffer some level of abuse. Someone came to my office about 2 weeks ago from Jos, and he told me he works in a law firm in Jos, and he's paid about 15,000 naira monthly as his salary. How do you get to the office? How do you pay rent? I think that there is a need for the Immigration Order 2023 to be revisited to consider the issue of payment of emoluments to lawyers who work within law firms. As I round up, let me say that for young lawyers, I have seen personally, and I may be wrong to assess everyone like this, but I have seen some young lawyers who feel entitled. A young lawyer gets employed, you don't want to do anything, just sit down and you feel
Since this is not
a
what
lawyer you paid 150,000 naira because you are a lawyer. I will tell you the truth. No principal, no senior will pay you fees simply because you are working in his firm and you are a lawyer. You must be able to demonstrate that you have earned your fee.
That's just
Again, even for young lawyers, you must develop capacity. And one of the ways to do that, in my view, you see, if you work in a way in a firm, and you work in a way that puts you in a position where the firm cannot do without you, they will limit in terms of how you are paid. The day you say, okay, I don't need to say maybe we can move to Abuja. And you can simply be by research. You can decide that in terms of research in this office, anytime I hear of that talking about a law, maybe he's looking to work on a particular matter, before he gets ready to start putting pen to paper, I will research in that area so that every law that is needed to answer questions on that area, I have it ready for him to look at by the time he's putting pen to paper. That is building capacity. I had a junior court in my office. He will go to court, and by the time he's through, he realized that there's a need to come back and produce a motion to file to do something. He will come back and not produce the motion. He will come and tell the other, we may need to file a motion in respect of this, and that is it. So I will have to produce the motion myself and then give him to come and file. That's a lawyer who is dispensable. But by the time you come back and sit down and put together the document and simply bring it to me to look at and say, well, I was in court today and I thought we should produce an application in this regard. I have produced it, maybe you look at it if it's okay, or we may need to tweak it. But gradually putting yourself in a place where your principal realizes that you have something to offer to the firm. And the truth I tell you is this. Anybody who is employing you in his law firm is not employing you because he has so much money, he wants to give something. He is employing you because he wants you to reduce his work. That's as simple as that. Reduce my workload. So if you are not reducing his work, you are dispensable. It's as simple as that. sorry, you are wrong. I also said you must be outgoing. Join the club. Join your university alumni. Join your driver, whatever. Interact. Because if you don't interact, you will not meet people. You will not get any bridge for yourself. But if you interact, that's opens some doors. That is social presence. Upwork, LinkedIn, these are the platforms you should belong to. Finally, I have said, or listed here, what I consider to be stumbling blocks. Lawyers earn the right fees. And one of them is tax. And then unscrupulous and unprincipled lawyers. Someone came to my office and I had him interacting with the lawyers. He was asking her if she would give him a stamp for a fee. The stamp of courtesy. And they are just
doing that.
those are the kind of people who create problems for us and make it for us as well as to end up as we should. The MBA must come up with the proper mechanism that fishes judgment out and prospects. Family and friends. I have this friend that I buy rice from. We became quite friendly. He called me one day and said he wants to buy property. And he needed me to draw the agreement. But he now told me the fee he was going to pay me. He had already determined the fee in his mind, and he simply told me that this is the fee he was going to give me. And I asked him the question, Mala, because me and you have become, you feel you can sit down and determine for me until the next time the nozo kaswa zan ga maka nawa ne shinkafa in ka bada haka ka saki kira na cewa kana da irin wannan aikin and I'll do it for you. For those who don't understand Hausa, what I simply said is I believe that everybody understands it. So you just pretend as if I spoke in English. So these are some of the problems that we have. For me, I always insist when my friends call me on the phone and say they have problems, I insist to them, one, I don't discuss legal issues, particularly this one that you are telling me this story for the first time. I don't discuss them on the phone. It's in my house. I don't mean to you that in my house. When I get home, I want to rest. I want to do everything but official things. So meet me in the office. The implication is that whether you like it or not, if you come to my office, I will bring out the remuneration order and show you and tell you that yes, we can waive these fees, but there is a procedure. The procedure is that I will write a letter to the legal practitioners remuneration committee, telling them my relationship with you and why we need to waive these fees. I will send a letter to Abuja with an affidavit. They will set up a committee of 5, look at it. If they are satisfied, they will ask me to waive. If they are not, they will say I should not waive. So come back after 2 weeks when I have written the letter. If you don't want to pay,
It's in the WhatsApp.
it is important
It's in the WhatsApp.
that you understand
The link
this
I sent it to me. Is it not this one? Somebody sent
Thank you very much.
30 minutes ago. 30 minutes. Yes. main general WhatsApp India office.
See. Thank you very much, Mr. Francis. If you believe that paper was adequately presented, please put your hands together once again.
Yes, yes, yes.
That was some food for thought, especially for us, the young lawyers. Now, while the paper presentation was going on, some of our distinguished seniors stepped in. One of whom is our very own O.I. Habib Esquire. Please put your hands together for him. Another senior who stepped in is no other than His Excellency S.A. Aldo Esquire, immediate past chairman, and the last neck rep of the And in our midst this morning is our own very chairman, Mr. G.O. Ochai Esquire. Please put your hands together for our chairman. While you were clapping, a silk just walked in to grace this occasion in the person of Leonard Silk Ogbeni Biola Oyebanji, senior advocate. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir. Another senior who quietly walked in is our own senior A.M. Imam. Please put your hands together for him. And we have some senior young lawyers, because I will not want to go or fall for the temptation of introducing senior young lawyers. There are very many, and I am fortunate to be one of them. So I will not want to introduce some of my seniors and some of my juniors. So let me just welcome you all to this summit. You are welcome. A goodwill message was supposed to have been given by the YLF national coordinator, but he was unavoidably absent. He was unavoidably absent at the time he was called upon. But I am told and I have seen that he is in our midst. I understand that the YLF Kaduna branch is going to find him for coming when he came. So I'm still trying to talk to them. They will find you or not. Let us see our advocate of Nigeria, distinguished seniors, like us to welcome the YLF National Chair in person of A.T. Aboki Esquire for the good evening message. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I greet you all and I convey special greetings from the President of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. Wise Peter. Mr. MC, honestly, I wasn't late deliberately. To the coordinators of the program. They told me they are yet to start. So I should be the one to find you. I was on time. So that was on a lighter note. Back to the topic or the theme of this summit. In all honesty, the theme of this summit is very apt. Like always, year in, year out, young lawyers don't have any topic they love so much than the issue of remuneration, and which is quite understandable. But in giving my goodwill remarks, I must align myself to some extent to the last speaker who made mention of capacity building when it comes to young lawyers. Remuneration is good, yes, but in my humble view, it's not the only issue bedeviling us as young lawyers. I think we must still the rule by his word. See, we delve into capacity building for ourselves, to make yourself so important. Very important. Which is the reason why you can be, because you can be a lot of things in the world. Let's say you can do all the tools and put everything together. It's so much that's like silence. And the issue of remuneration is something that is being taken into consideration. Quite frankly. I am privileged to be part of it.
But why do you need to know? When you know you have time to space. Eh? If you do your life coach.
It's not a remuneration. The law is perfect. There always room for improvement. It's not a remuneration. I think we can take advantage of what we have in store now. Know how to charge, when to charge, books. Don't give in. Just try to comply. And finally, I understand there has been some series of complaints with respect to the conference fees. In fact, just now when I'm being picked up from the hotel, the chairman whispered to me this issue. Although in the presence of prevailing circumstances, which necessitated the NBA to come up with such a hike, that notwithstanding, we are on our own path as the wildlife for engaging the leadership of the NBA to see what can be done. Hopefully, I honestly, since I was part of the last week, I honestly see reason why the hike was made. Sincerely, thank you. I'm most grateful for this. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Even though we are dodged the bullet, a bit, not completely. Thank you very much.
Just correct.
Yeah.
Let me just see how.
No,
that's how awareness.
Quickly, we are going to the meat of the gist. The paper that had earlier been presented is going to be discussed, and to discuss this paper, seasoned senior colleagues, distinguished senior advocates of Nigeria. They are going to be discussing a set paper represented by our own is representing Tobina Erojikwe Esquire as a discussant. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yes. don't know if the learned seal is represented. I understand that the learned seal Abdullah Yahya will be joining us via Zoom. The arrangement is being made for that. I don't know if learned seal Mazi Afam the Sigwe is being represented. Okay, he will also be joining us via Zoom. Then I do not know if Suka Ikwazon, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, is also being represented, or he will be joining us virtually. Will he be joining us virtually, or is he represented by anybody else? I'll take it that. Mr. Suka Ikwazon is here. Is not here and is not represented. I do not know if George Udwa Esquire is represented or here in person. Okay, it's not represented and it's not here in person, and will not be joining us virtually.
Send a paper, one of the young lawyers will read it.
Okay, I understand that Joyce Udwa sent a paper that will be read or forwarded to us on the platforms.
Next, I'll call in the main speaker in person of Mr. Maxwell. Here, please, can you please come to the high table?
Bayan sai na kira ka baka dauka ba sai na kira abu shi yansu bayanin property sai dai laptop ɗin
In a few moments, we will kickstart. This discussion is no other than the past secretary of the Young Lawyers Forum. She is the head of HR and Corporate Social Responsibility Department of Farmer Firm. She is no other than Zainab Muhammad Bello. She will be anchoring this discussion.
yanzu ya sa da ya cin na buwe to bai ce mai to ciyama waya
The YLF National Coordinator joined the discussion. Yes, you see, I told you have not completely got that well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. And good morning. I feel privileged and honored to be your midst. Okay, I will start with the secretary. Please, it was 5 minutes. So, please, can you tell us what you feel are the challenges of the Lawyers Liberation Order 2023?
Okay, let us still here present, distinguished seniors, also here present. I'm extremely honored and privileged that the Young Lawyers Forum has invited Mr. Tobena Eroje, the chair of the Institute of Continuing Education.
Why? Let me sit in the car so that I'll do this thing. Huh?
And I'll try to be as short as possible. Mr. Maxwell, the keynote speaker, has done a very wonderful job in his presentation, and I'm sure he has clearly identified most of the challenges.
Shabbat does not take him out.
He is the fact that the remuneration, they are kind of confusing words. Remuneration, that is your payment of your salaries and your endowment, is not covered under this order. And it's kind of surprising because if you read the reports of all the committees, the white paper of the NFA, there were about 2 reports. There was a main committee that was set up during Olumide Akpata's tenure, led by Anthony Uwache. And there was a subsequent committee again that reviewed that committee's report and submitted it to the Nigerian Bar Association. We now issued a white paper on these 2 basic issues, the remuneration and the remuneration. And in each of those reports, before this order was passed, there was a scale for the salary structure in different bands of states. Band 1, Band 2, Band 3. And each of these places taking a reflection of the economic condition in each of these states. So it's kind of surprising that the remuneration was not included in this order. Secondly, emphasis. Now, it is very important for us to read what it says. The scale has 5 different scales, each dealing with different aspects of the law. The question is, what happens when you charge less than the amount as contained in the remuneration order? And very good professional conduct, you will be guilty of being of unprofessional conduct and could be referred to the Legal Practitioners Dictionary Committee. But there's a duty on us to report our colleagues for charging less than the fees. The question is, how many of us will do that? Another issue that I find a little bit cumbersome in respect of the order is the fact that there's a need for us to actually think outside the box. And what do I mean by this? You can only charge what you're entitled to. And I've told a couple of young lawyers that I've met that even if you have to enter a box to see a client, be well dressed. I mean, you can't be going on Okada all dusty in a black suit, and you're telling the client that you're going to charge you perhaps 2 million naira. He looks at you in the face and says, how can you be asking for such things when you don't look like a person that is entitled to it? So be well dressed, be cultured, be well dressed, present yourself properly in such a way that when. And one very important point which I've seen on decimal over the years, there is no year that you will not have a young lawyer summit talking about welfare. I think we need to expand that. It's not only young lawyers that need welfare. All about it. Because unless we have the ratio clearly spelled out the problem of and the decision has to be internal. Take that internal decision that we want to make it. We need to now say to ourselves that the inertial order will enforce it by ourselves. It doesn't matter if the fertilizer can easily enforce their fees across all union. If they increase their price today, three of them will tell you the same thing, 150, 200. They will never reduce it for you. I bet you, if you come to meet me and I charge you like 100,000, by the time you collect something less than that, according to the donation order, my fees for consultation is 100,000 naira. And like my friend was trying to say, I want the family member that I would be paid 100,000, whether they will agree to it. Interestingly, just to put story to them, it's 8 or our family now just recently. And I told her, look, I'm going to send them, and it's going to be tandem with the remuneration order. I said, okay, let's not send it. I'll go and give it to them. So when the time came, it 5 million. I said, my thing is 10%, and I'm not going to negotiate. He said, okay, now, send it. When the time we prepared the deed and everything, she now looked at me. Are you still going to ask them for the fees, or should I tell them? The message was quite clear. So I wonder my friend would have had, So the truth of it is that standards. Let the remuneration order be a stepping stone for us. Let us build on this remuneration order that we can now be talking about our welfare. Perhaps that is the reason of lawyers was perhaps excluded. Let's get this right. Let's get the remuneration order right, and then from there we can now start talking.
In your presentation, you made mention of some jurisdictions outside. They have a body specifically for the regularization and charging and law office management. They regulate them. Like in the UK, they grade their 1 to band 6, and band 6 is the lowest. And when you are in band 6, you cannot at the secretary, and that is how the grading system goes. What do you think of the possible challenges will no longer be open out of the way, but you have to follow the process based on the bodies subsidiary in each and every branch of the NBA?
When I was giving the paper, I think this is that Nigeria is an over-legislated state. We have too many laws, a lot of them are necessary. And part of the problem is that around those laws, because of the laws that we have already properly, we don't have any real problems. But because the laws, there would always be need to now have a law that was quoted in an initial law. So you find that every time you have an amendment to the Electoral Act, by the time you have election text, Now, what's my point? The problem, my friend here made the point, and it's very fundamental to the issue of saying, probably based on the relation of that someone should be service and if you go out, you find someone who is willing to pay less than what the law actually specifies without following the process. It is not accepted. Yes, you have minimums, but you can charge less than the minimums so that it allows you properly to charge the minimums. You get the point? Now, the problem is when I was talking about this order, and I made the unlike the 1991 order, it actually has some mechanism in terms of enforcement. It is weak because the only mechanism that makes it possible to enforce is that I think paragraph 11, I become aware that my friend Idris is charging less. I may not. And that's where the problem is. Because obviously that's the only manner that the law provides for which information can get to the remuneration committee so that it knows that there's a lawyer who is charging less. A win. Part of it, I think, has to do with our orientation. We have to reorient ourselves. There has to be some level of reorientation first. Why am I saying this? He made the point. My wife is an estate surveyor. If she lets a property stay, and it's not peculiar to her, even if you meet 100 estate surveyors in respect of that same property, and that's the fee of the property sale, you pay that same amount.
Okay, so you can use that in there. The two speakers you are supposed to use, they are online. Apply, yeah.
Keep muting us.
The YLM. So what you do? Are you used to this thing? Okay, so what you do? Take it. You understand? Then keep it somewhere I can.
I will not consult them and leave. I don't even think about it. Who came and I told them, when you consult with me, you have to pay 100,000 naira. But I had a time. You consult with me, you pay 20. And they said, no, we are going to pay. Consult with me. I said, okay, why not? They said, they when you are ready to come and pay, they will come. They left. A few days later, they came and they said, well, I said, why not? But they pay. My point is if all of us as lawyers insist that I don't want to leave my office, go somewhere else.
It's because you actually manage your law firm. With regard to that is why there is that standard. So other law some find it difficult to actually keep that or maintain that standard. So the main question is how do we actually make them regular? How do we actually make them one day job but gradually?
I think I get the box of them. While I was second, came up. What says is that when you work, you are supposed to do is to inform that branch where you are located that I am open to law firm. Is that there's something known as the law firm regulation committee. When if we are going to tell ourselves the truth, if the banks the law firms that have just one room and firms that have it's already structured. What you can do is that when you have registry as a law firm, you now go register your firm within each of these banks. It makes it easier. The law firm, they are issuing out something. You say, I want so far. And according to my bank, I can charge you XYZ. Corporate clients, it increases your ability to charge them because it's corporate clients that you can. Secondly, it also within ourselves, it also gives us the inspiration for growth. And I want to move up higher. There will be criteria for which you need. That means you can move from band 6 to band 5 to band 1. The law firm regulation was something that was attempted to administration. It was everybody said they were going to bring on another regulation or not. They want to kill us with another set of things. But that's of even this regulation order, the easiest way we can do it is for all of us to that way, you know I am band 1, I am band 2. When I'm talking with you, I'm talking some level of open. There's no right.
I'm waiting for them to call me. Please, if I'm called, I won't be in the car. If I'm done, I won't be in the car.
If I am a band 1 firm, I'm registered as a band 1 firm. I will get top level clients, and it's also the marketing strategy. I'll just say this and I'm not doing mine. It's a very important situation. There's this thing that within us as marketing of our services and legal practitioners. That PC doesn't say you cannot market. That PC regulates and it doesn't even say you cannot advertise. It just says the rules and regulations for you to advertise. We need to get out of a public company. The easiest way to mention it is supposed to get online. Online, there's something called as search engine optimization. What does it mean? 162 million Nigerians are on the internet. So what does search engine optimization? Somebody in Kaduna click lawyers in Kaduna. Increasingly, people are running to the internet for provision of services. Increasingly. what is the presence of lawyers in Kaduna on the internet, so that you now have that access to those services and you now know what it is all about. And it's not only for lawyers, I think it's also a challenge for us as the NBA. I mean, part of the digital committee of the NBA, and of the one that has 24 branches, just under 20 are online with any form of information about the things they need to do. Recently, I was told by somebody from Lagos that a lawyer in Kaduna, he gave his name, had collected our money and had not done any of the work. I said, how did you get to meet this lawyer? I said, are you aware that before, one of the easiest things to do is to go to the NBA and you to find the lawyer portal? If we can replicate all of to make our services, it will market our services more, and it will make us more visible. And I strongly recommend, I hope that whoever becomes the next NBA president will try and see whether it's possible, that we should have some form of law firm regulation and registration. It will make it easier where to go to, who is a picture of the data. I hope.
There's also strong responsibility of this as the chairman of the YFA on how the young blood can actually benefit from this innovation order.
Okay. You asked two questions. I would like to align myself. The previous speaker, not the last speaker, that talks about benefit from the remuneration order 2020. My humble opinion is that order cannot. My own humble opinion, but we can enforce it for something you don't know. How do you know? It takes someone to report the license away, so it keeps quiet. So, but what do you think of the fact that in the face of this remuneration order, but it's not that easy, you know? There's a thin line between self-enforcement of that desperation, economic realities. To be very honest, less than 2 months after the past, I was supposed to purchase a property in Lagos. We did everything. I sent the correspondence, everything. We never negotiated the price. So at the time of payment for the that you should have looked, how much do I pay? Kind of remuneration of the XYZ. I stuck by my. And trust me, they bought that property. I found out after a month. Maybe they use another lawyer who be strong enough to resist that. Him, I don't blame him. So the issue of the bottom line is when it comes to the issue of enforcement,
to do with self-consciousness of. I think anything outside that, I think will just be all the members in this room and members of the NBA agree that look, give what to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. This is what I mean. Until then, I think we might not be able to fully. But that being said, I think the remuneration order is a step in. We've started. We don't know how far we'll go. And I believe that maybe the next administration, whatever review, whatever provisions that ought to be there that are not, and some amendments, but I think it is a step in the right direction and we must commend the committee. The second issue is mostly young lawyers are those that are mostly affected by the issue of remuneration. Well, that's honestly, young lawyers are mostly affected by the issue of. I'm a man of reason. I like being confronted with so that we can have whatever solution we're providing, it will be. I may choose, I may elect, and I'll get some applause from my wildlife. Even though it is true, our members are mostly affected by poor remuneration. Remuneration has no class. Yes. It's a general something, a general body. Not every of banding. You know, if you are band, like you said, band 1 to 6, right? If you are within band 1 to 6, said band 6 is only one lawyer and a secretary. That means you don't have to pay anybody. So the issue of remuneration will not even arise.
Actually, based on that jurisdiction, yes, even the duties of the secretary.
Yes, I understand. Sometimes senior lawyers are unable to pay salaries because of duplicity of efforts or duplicity of roles. You know, I know you. I have someone. Please employ this person, and you just employ him. You understand? You employ your neighbor, employ your nieces, employ your cousins, employ everybody you can employ beyond your capacity. You know, and at the end of the day, they might not be giving you the desired value. You know, and this is one area I am very, very huge about. I'm big on the remuneration, but I think the issue is beyond sentiment. We have to go back to the issue of banding so that you employ whatever it is that you can afford. You know, but the issue of value is something I have problem with some of our members. You have to give value in the fact that you want. You can't just come and say, babe, if you want a salaried employment, pick up a government employment. You know, if you are in a firm, you have to give value in whatsoever capacity. You have to give, and giving value, you're not only doing it to your principal, you're working for yourself. I served in Kano, and I think that time my salary was 10,000 naira a month. And we work on a Sunday. I'm not justifying my bosses, my former bosses, whatever. I'm not justifying his conduct, but I'm just saying we work even on Sundays. He pays me 10,000 naira, and we have to go to work. In fact, I get to work by 8. I'm seated. To be very honest with you, I love to sleep, but by 8 I'm seated. We close, I think 6:30. and he pays me 10,000 in a month. To be frank, I've never complained to him, but I know it wasn't fair. If I wasn't going to take it, I'll leave. You understand? But why did I stay? I had access to some files, I had access to cases, and it helped build me in my early years of practice, to be very frank. I sacrificed that year, not considering the issue of remuneration. I sacrificed that year, got files, sent me to this. These are things you cannot get in firms that are properly remunerated. You can spend up to 7 years without moving a motion, I'm telling you for free. So sometimes, despite the fact that it might not be fair, we should have a holistic and see reason. And also, I think the regulating authority, that is the NBA, has a lot to do in this aspect. Let's go back to the issue of funding, and I think everything will be fine. Then value. I think was
Thank
value
you
as
very
well.
much. I have just been informed that Mr. Abdullah Hassan have joined us. Welcome, sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
Thank you, sir, for joining us. I just have a question that I would like you to shed more light on. We have been talking about issue of lawyers' employment and remuneration. And I just, based on my own view, believe that the Labour Act also serves as a regulation on issue of employment. And I believe that any lawyer that is under employment should have an employment contract, which in most law firms sometimes is not in existence. You're verbally actually employed and you work there. As such, based on that, sir, what do you think law firms can do to actually regulate that? And in conjunction with the issue of the remuneration order, how does the Labour Act and the remuneration order comes into play to assist in actually correcting this issue of lawyers' welfare?
Well, let me start by saying I thank the executives of the Young Lawyers Forum for inviting me to participate in this program. I was approached, as the keynote speaker had said, to be the lead in respect of this issue. First, I guess because of my involvement in the remunerations order. Unfortunately, I've been a bit preoccupied. One, I'm involved in some election petition, and two, I'm also serving the MBA in the ECMBA, that's the Electoral Committee of the Nigerian Bar Association. So that has kept me a bit out of town and really, really preoccupied. But I offered that I could be a discussant. Now, I think the issues, I had also participated in the national summit that the Young Lawyers Forum had, and was a member of the panel that had discussions on the same issue of remunerations order and remunerations relating to young lawyers. First, I really want to commend the lead speaker. I have gone through the slides that he did. I will recommend to all young lawyers who are attending the summit, and not just to those who are attending the summit, but to all young lawyers, that try and get the slides. I think it is a very, very realistic paper. It doesn't just play to the gallery. It tries to address the issues as they are realistically, from the perspective of how would young lawyers improve their remuneration. And so it would be a guide to them. Now, I'll try and see if I can answer to the questions you've asked me and then go a bit beyond that. I'll go a bit beyond that because of certain knowledge which I have, as I said, relating to the remunerations, the issues relating to young lawyers' remuneration. I'm privileged to have been a member of the Olumide Akpata administration's remunerations white paper drafting committee. After that committee finished its work and NEC, the MBA NEC adopted the report, I was made chairman of the remunerations committee implementation, remunerations white paper implementation committee. Now, I also served on a committee that drafted the remunerations order, which has been passed and which is now the remunerations order 2023. I also serve on the MBA, on the legal practitioners remunerations committee, which is a committee created pursuant to section 15 of the Legal Practitioners Act. Now that committee had the responsibility of passing what you have today as the remunerations order 2023. Now I'm giving this preamble so that I will take certain issues which both the lead presenter and Idris Ibrahim had raised. That is, why is the issue of the remuneration of young lawyers not contained in the remunerations order 2023? I will see if I can address that. But before I do, let me say that the remunerations order as you have it today is a product of the Legal Practitioners Act. Now it contemplates that we're talking about remunerations for services rendered to clients. It is not in the main an order dealing with remunerations as in salaries for staff who work in law offices or who work in government employment. Now, when we did the initial draft of the remunerations order, we had contemplated remuneration as it pertains to salaries for both private lawyers and for those in public service. Unfortunately, that did not go down well. It didn't go down well with the Legal Practitioners Remunerations Committee because that committee is composed of the Attorneys General of the 36 states, the Attorneys General of the 36 states, the Attorney General of the Federation as chairman, the President of the Nigerian Bar Association, and 3 other legal practitioners representing the MBA. So in all, the MBA has 4 members. While on the other side, from the official bar, you have 36 attorneys general and the Attorney General of the Federation. So whatever we needed to do, we needed to be able to play, I would put it in a more subtle way, the politics of having to pass something. Now, we found ourselves in a situation in which we needed to get something rather than insist on everything and get nothing. Now, the very idea of the remunerations committee, which Mr. Anthony Wauche worked on, was they found in the beautiful work they did was that undercutting was part of the biggest problem that we had. And some members of both the discussants and the lead presenter have spoken about it. Now, and they recommended that as a mechanism to check that going forward, the NBA should be involved in the payment of fees, especially for land transactions. And they did suggest certain mechanisms, part of which was that when you prepare a document, the MBA will affix a stamp on it. The MBA will, on your behalf, receive your payment, take a percentage of it, maybe 1 or 2%, and then pass on your fees to you. The reason for that was it will shield you and say to your client, look, unfortunately, I can't compromise these fees because it is fixed by law. We also had a recommendation in it that as a way to get external influence into it, we were going to involve the state authorities. So you will have a committee made up of, to the account to which the money will be paid, you have 2 representatives of the Nigerian Bar Association, 1 representative of the regulatory tax authority. So your money is paid into an escrow account. Now, into that escrow account, the signatories are 3, any 2 to sign, meaning that if you do a transaction, say for 100 million, you charge 10%, which is 10 million. You can't compromise it because your money will be paid into that account. The regulatory tax authority will take out withholding tax. So it will be of benefit to them to participate because they are getting withholding tax at source. Now, to you, it will be good because rather than get, say, 1 million for 100 million, you'll get 10 million. All that you are losing is that you are paying tax, which is statutorily an obligation on you. But you're getting a higher amount than if you were left alone to negotiate with your client. Unfortunately for us, the Attorneys General of the Federation, the Attorneys General of the 36 states felt that, look, gentlemen, if you leave this provision in it, we won't pass it. And their reason was this: as far as they are concerned, anything to do with fees that entails a third party being involved in it, they will not allow it to fly. In fact, they as much as told us, look, gentlemen, if you refuse, let us vote on this thing. And as I said, we are 4, they are 37. So we had to take that, and we said to them, well, if you insist, we will take that provision out. Since that is the knotty issue, we'll take that out so that the balance of what we have can fly. The other issue which we had in the remunerations order was the issue of including in it the issue of payment of salaries. Now, there was a provision which said if you don't pay the salary fixed by the MBA, you'll be deemed to have committed gross misconduct for which you can be sent to the LPDC. Now, the question to ask is payment of salary as between an employer and an employee a civil matter, or it is a matter for which a lawyer can now be disbarred? And the generality of the opinion was that it was a civil matter. But I can tell you we have moved slightly away from where we were. And why do I say so? The recommendation by the MBA is still there. NEC had passed it as a recommendation. It is now, today, it is advisory. And why do I say we have moved slightly? For every person who seeks to apply for the rank of Senior Advocate of Nigeria, know this, that the guidelines for the conferment of the rank of Senior Advocate has in it a provision which says you must pay to your staff a salary which is not below the scale of fees, the scale of salaries recommended by the Nigerian Bar Association. So, as I said, if you take that, it means that the fact that the MBA had made certain recommendations, one of which is you must give to all your employees a letter of employment, you must enroll them if you have the minimum staff, you must enroll them for the National Health Insurance Scheme, you must put them on the pension reform. So to the extent that that has been made a part of the LPPC guidelines, it means we have moved away. Now, the last thing is, last year, 2 things came out which were fundamental successes by the current administration of the Nigerian Bar Association. The other part that we are not taking is the rules of professional conduct. Now, the rules of professional conduct ought to have contained a recommendation dealing with, or if you put it lightly, making it a misconduct to fail to pay the minimum wage suggested by the NBA. Now, in the General Council of the Bar, to a large extent, the members who are here in the Legal Practitioners Remunerations Committee are also members there. NBA has 20 elected members. Now, the attorneys general are 36 plus the attorney general of the federation. So you can check the dynamics of the politics of it. You'll find that in that order too, that's the rules of professional conduct, it is also not been made an offense to fail to pay the minimum salary scales recommended by the NBA. So that is as it pertains to the issue of remuneration in form of salaries to younger lawyers. Now, I want to say that the lead presenter had raised certain things which are fundamental and which I think, not just for young lawyers, but for all lawyers, should matter a lot. Now, there are colleagues of ours who are there, O.I. Habib, Ogbeni, Biola Oyebanji, who is my classmate and my friend, and several others. I will tell you that now the key to earning good money in this profession and in every other profession is make yourself valuable. Now, even before this scale of fees, there are lawyers who practice in Nigeria today who will charge 100 million naira, and they tell you it is either 100 million or nothing. If you pay 99,500,000, they won't do the job. Why do people still go to them? People go to them because they bring value. So make yourself valuable. If you make yourself valuable, as the lead presenter has said, whether as a young lawyer or as an older lawyer, you will make money. Knowledge is not restricted to your principal. When you get the knowledge stays with you. You use the knowledge maybe for a while for your principal, but the knowledge stays with you. So my advice to young lawyers and to everybody, to all of us, is we should improve ourselves. The election petition season just went. Those who are engaged in it know that you need a lot of younger ones to work with you. But you will only bring into your fold those who will bring value. You're not bringing people so that they will come and
Is anybody any question? Any opinion, any observation? Okay. It's the level of this one
my question is a simple question, but I do read several occasions. I do read several occasions, even when discussing with a lot of seniors. I said, now that the regulation order is in place, there is an enforcement mechanism. Even though we didn't know how far the enforcement mechanisms through the committee are working. Now, what will be the remedy of a young lawyer that followed the remuneration order, but at the end, he lost his brief to either a more younger lawyer or a senior lawyer? And for a fee, not in line with the remuneration order. What would be the remedy of that lawyer? I heard vividly the talk our national chairman gave us that he has lost a brief, a transaction which he has started from the beginning, but because he has said this is my fee and he stood by it, the transaction was concluded without him. Now, what will be his remedy? Should he go on and find out who is the lawyer, how much he charged for that brief, whether that lawyer has complied with the regulation order or not, then try to like impose it against, is it against the lawyer or against the client? This is my question. Thank you very much.
The mic, please.
Hello?
In the order.
Thank you much for something. My own voice is I'm not the line of having this sense of entitlement from the lawyers, young lawyers perspective. And also, there is also in that from the senior one's perspective. Now, we're going to be very quick. What I'm trying to say is, as a young lawyer, you know you tell me what you want in the first place. And you focus and you give it all the best, all your best, something that achieve whatever you say. Now, I don't think it is fair for us to always complain because I always want to complain. My boss has made a dream of having a bit of a day. You know how to manage it also to get that dream. I'm not saying I'm only serious. If you can, what do we call this? If I'll come back to that point, but the point I'm trying to make is that as a young lawyer working you have to always ask yourself, what am I bringing to the table? What value am I adding to the law? And what do I want to become? If you want to become a and then if you can say a time frame, I'm going to don't be complaining. And for the seniors, I think motivation that was important. Trying to record. It's only good to motivate your juniors so that in front of the I don't have to worry about their limits or whatever, so that they will be able to give but the point I will tell you are not like it is your own responsibility to be and you bring in value to the Lord. And if one of you are bringing value, last point, this issue of enforcement, reporting and colleagues of bringing pages in there. All of this will be level of only us that will solve this. It's our profession, it's our responsibility. We are the ones that will now see that our culture. Few weeks ago, somebody came to me about churches I don't know also to charge for this. So if my colleague area are not rejected that so not that that only is that also because the fact that someone is rejected also increase the value. So you take like and that's okay. Someone who is made because he has a person that the time is and say we have to learn which are still in the and actually I don't do that I cannot accept it. But when I look at the review and answer that he said how do you but don't try this and lastly, I want to share an experience or share it's very important. For those of us who give our seed to send out this especially goes to see I'm sure around us, the government is going to handle that. Someone from Kaji walked into his office, collected the seed, told his secretary that he said that he went and saw the property of justice of using his money. And then when he came back, he suspended the secretary, and then he now did a police report. After a while, then there was a call from my secretary, somebody is died, and then the situation, then it was called upon, as this and this, now say, oh, I understand that these are these. So, the police are based on how at that police report. So continuously when you are seeing, you don't know whose property is that you are going to stay. So 10,000, 5,000, 7,000, you don't know. They are you will pay. So from our profession, our that is going to. I was telling people, even the congestion is of if it is not taken care of, the next thing is actually we don't have literally from White House.
Before the key that I want to point out, we keep on talking about making ourselves valuable, then when are you going to open your own law firm? This is something that we should put from the back of our mind. Our target should not be always about living and opening your own law firm. What about building the law firm you're in? To the extent that in other jurisdictions, the opportunities for you to gradually build to the extent that you become a partner and even part owner of those law firms that you have been working in. These are things that we are thinking about and adopting. Because the moment you keep on living and opening your own law firm, more problems we are creating for ourselves. You have to look at other opportunities also to build yourself at the same time, gain more and money and welfare and build the law firm you're currently working in. Your mindset should not be all about living. Thank you very much. Okay. One last question, sorry, bro. Okay, contribution. Please, 1 minute.
Good afternoon. I want to comment
Carry with my boss. I want to commend you for your job. But I also want to commend all the my other guys. Of course, you already know that wherever you see my you know that value is coming. And quickly, I want to pick up where the moderator stopped. And that was the point you wanted to make. That we've been talking about value, and I think that I want to make institutions in value. And you can find a way to make this about if you don't have a business experience to bring value to the company, there's something you can also do. You can also be available to work. You can also do something and broaden your practice, your experience. That's where I want to go to. Also, the organization said something, the chairman of the said something, and said when you were something about the value, when you are adding value to yourself, you are also adding value to the government. So if you make that perceived value, don't look at it as I'm doing it for the government I work. It just quickly my foundation and foundation where I work. I sometimes this year I think we're trying to register for something in the US. I talked to an organization and I reached out to them and said, okay, we want to register for this. Can you kindly guide me? I kept searching and nobody was willing to share the information. I had to, it took me almost like the fact at the point I was almost done, and a colleague was thinking of my laptop. So I had to start the process all over again. I had to learn a skill that I never, it's not, in fact, it has nothing to do with law practice. Now, the interesting thing is that when I finished that process and I got the organization registered with the US government, somebody sent me a file in the US, sent up a memo and said that we're going to continue the other process on our behalf, but not pay them after. I mean, it was, I told my boss, I said, you I learned a skill. Now, we are this Assault Foundation. To address you and what they should pay you. As a rule, I don't engage people. I'll send you a memo. When you see that memo, it already tells you that I'm a serious minded person. So when I give you my deal, don't come and say, no, I'm paying you 2,000. So I think that we need to also up our deal. It's not only waiting for what the seniors will give you. What if your boss, something happened to him and it's not there? What happened to you if you don't do it yourself? So that's just my contribution. Thank you very much.
Well, I don't know how much time, so just respond. I like the question that was asked by a former coordinator. Well, find a way of answering. Because as it stands now, our chairman started only God knows the extent to which he what amount of time and energy he put into it. He was at the point of coming. Because of course, by the time you're talking about paying fees, I'm sure you are gotten to a point where some reasonable work. If someone else fees he demanded in the view of the person was too much, and then the person collects less fees from this other person, a problem has arisen. That's a problem. And therein lies our dilemma. Because until and unless we get to go back to the enforcement, until we get to a point where we will properly enforce, this problem will continue. I think what to the relation committee did. The States Department must play a role of registering, particularly when it comes to deeds of assignment and all of that. I think we should look for a way of insisting that, particularly when it comes to implementation,
terms of land and all this other documentation. The NDA must get before you get to a point where you complete or perfect a deed or whatever document. You must have forwarded to the NDA so that some seal is put on it from the NDA. Now, if you have that,
how are you?
necessary documents and a system.
You call me. Let's go. Bye bye. How are you?
A seal from the enemy. The implication
How are you? Very fine, man. You want to play? Come back.
or
We've been having a nice time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. No, you don't want to be engaged. You don't want to be meaningful again. You love play. You love play. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
So that you now start the procedure of recovering your professional funds. As soon as you issue any client a letter of engagement, which they have accepted, that is accepted your terms. I think the mistake by the chairman was that we never give you a letter and without telling them
Leave yourself. See biscuits.
you need to check it. So that's the young lawyer that has
Biscuits.
You need to have interest. I have interest.
Enjoy the one I do. Give it
Blacklight attorneys, NASA. You personally develop yourself, identify the area you are interested in, and focus on it. You might want to mention the issue of know what you want. When I started my practice, my small brother, my first Papa said an IT-driven doctor was always around IT-driven doctor. Today, Nigeria, I can say we are part of my chest. So, you need to know what you want, and not something like we now have all the leadership when I went to be stopped that. The issue of education, yes, consistent outside the box. Outside the box. No, it's on YouTube. You see trainings of technology. You see training. There's so many more that going on a station. Looking at everything your certification.
I'm a little better. Yes, I'm not low. That's how I work at this.
I don't say that I don't think that you can give anybody knowledge. Knowledge is that's your knowledge that you earn. And I'm telling you, when there's a doctor, what about knowledge?
The audio quality is bad. Oh. I just say waste 1 hour eating. Oh.
Currently, the regulation of electricity protects the electricity in their state. So, there's a way. I found out recently, and this just joined one electricity company. So there's no way. So unless and until we start looking outside the box, we'll continue to have those senior states. Think outside the box. Apply with something about online. And it's only ministry jurisdiction. And that's not there's never been a time when practice of God has been. I don't agree with my friend that you need to hold office practice of God now. Give me like 2 or 3 things. If you have it on your system, access to the internet, identify areas you want to talk about, go on social media, like active, put it on LinkedIn, put it on online, put it everywhere, anywhere you can see. Not as an authority there. How did I get invited to meet twice? When you put yourself out and become known as an authority of person, then makes yourself see. It also makes the fact that you lose.
Let's go inside my office, okay?
And now we so when that
You don't want the other one. Don't want this one. Don't want. Should I eat it? You're keeping it? For who? For Gretchen. When? When will Gretchen eat it? Gretchen! 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 Come back here.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. If it's me you're talking to.
Go ahead, please.
Hello, is it that Fabo Sigwe you're asking to go ahead? Hello?
Hello. Okay, just back up into this. Let him pack. Hello.
We can hear you, sir.
I didn't get the question I'm supposed to speak to. I didn't hear the question. Can you repeat it, please?
The question.
Hello? Hello?
With regards to the Regulation Order 2023 and also government.
Your voice is echoing. I have a problem hearing you, but I heard something about Remuneration Order 2023. Yes, but I can't hear the moderator. Her voice is echoing.
Come here. Come here. Thank you. Say good afternoon, sir. Say good afternoon,
Somebody
sir.
is talking in the background and is called. Oh God. Hello? Go ahead, ma'am.
So we're having a conversation with regards to lawyers, immigration, and government management. Challenges and
Welcome. Sanada Ike. Mr. Star, Sanu Madam. You didn't greet.
Sir, can you hear us?
I can hear you that we're having a conversation about the Remuneration Order. I can hear, but there's somebody who keeps talking in the background and he keeps interfering with our presentation. I can hear you.
Okay, let's, sir, we want to hear your perspective on the topic under discussion in respect of the remuneration of young lawyers vis-a-vis law firm management.
Okay, thank you so very much. That was very clear. Let me start by saying I listened to an earlier presenter who was of the view, who commented about the issue of remuneration of young lawyers. Let me start by saying that if you look at Section 15(3) of the Legal Practitioners Act, which empowered the Remuneration Committee or the Legal Practitioners Remuneration Committee to make this order, it does not give it power to fix salaries for lawyers. It gives the power to fix maximum charges which may be made in respect of any transaction or activity of a description specified by the order, and a settlement of charges appropriate for any transaction, and then the taking of practitioners, taken by practitioners of security for payment of their fees, and an agreement between legal practitioners and their clients. It does not extend to labor relations, which is what issue of how much young lawyers are paid is all about. Now, there is need, I agree with those who support that view, that there is need for us to have some kind of idea of the minimum fees that lawyers who are in private employment should be paid. But the law as it stands at the moment does not authorize that. The only law that has fixed minimum wage is the National Minimum Wage Act. There is need for us to make concerted effort to ensure that there's a baseline charge that a lawyer, a fee or salary that a lawyer working in a law firm may be paid. At the moment, we can start off with making it a resolution of NBA, in which case, while it may not be legally enforceable, may be binding in honors. Law firms will take it as a guide on what fees to pay lawyers of different age categories. That will be a starting point. And let me also note that with respect to the issue of law office management, that law office management is simply managing a business which essentially provides legal services. So like all businesses, they should be focused on operating at a profit. And operating at a profit also entail incentivizing those who work in the law firms to ensure that they are well paid, that they don't become disgruntled, so that the issue of their welfare is taken care of by the law firms. And then these law firms also, to be able to do this, must operate at a profit. And those who work there should give them their utmost loyalty and dedication to ensure that the law firms render proper services to their clients and they earn more. And I believe that with the proper utilization of the remuneration order 2023, that law firms and indeed any lawyer who is engaged in practice will be able to earn more. I'm not mindful of the complaints by people about the difficulties that may be encountered in implementation of this law, of this order 2023. But I make bold to say that if all of us are committed by realizing that it is in our best self-enlightened, in our enlightened best interest to ensure that this order works, by not charging low, undercutting, or violating this order for fear that the next lawyer may accept the brief if we reject it, by realizing that this is a matter of professional misconduct, that we will make this order work, and that our clients will realize that they don't have to dictate what they pay us, that there is a law in place, a statute, a subsidiary legislation, if I may say, that has fixed fees that lawyers cannot go beyond. And those who render pro bono services don't have any reason to complain, because the order recognizes their right to render pro bono services and they're exempt from applying fee as long as they are rendering free legal services. Because the idea of allowing pro bono services or allowing free services to persons who qualify on grounds of affinity or friendship or relationship does not extend to you charging a little. For those services to qualify, they have to be free, totally free services. Not where, for example, the law has said charge 2 million and say, oh, this person is my family member, I'm giving pro bono service because of that, let me charge 500,000. That would be a violation of the law. We all need to make this thing work. We need to let those who will service know that we are professionals, we are members of a noble profession, and that if a law has stipulated minimum amounts we can charge, that we have a duty to uphold that law. Let us not forget that at the bar, that the motto of the NBA is promoting the rule of law. And one of the rules of professional conduct enjoins every lawyer to uphold the highest standards of professional conduct and respect the rule of law and ensure that the right things are done at every time. We have to make this rule work for us. And it is, we have to test the rule, make it work, and not approach it with a high degree of skepticism. The rule also has provision for where persons who would require legal services but may not cannot afford the minimum. It has made stipulations as to how a lawyer who finds himself or herself in this situation, can apply to the remuneration committee for a waiver, stating reasons why the application should be granted. Now, this, I think, is a clear understanding that not everybody will be able to pay this minimum. Now, there are persons who are entitled to legal services who, on account of poverty or not being very financially capable, will not be able to afford the minimum set out in the law. And the committee, I believe, is a reasonable one. I will always entertain such applications on its merit to ensure that such persons are not denied of legal representation or legal services where they require but cannot afford it on account of the minimum stipulated in law being very high. All in all, we must run our law practice as a business and make sure that they are focused. We must do health check on this, and we must also innovate. And innovation in this circumstance in this year 2024 would also include applying the remuneration order to our ways of doing things, to our ways of thinking, to our ways of charging, to our way of placing a value on the services we render to our clients, to ensure that these clients, while they get the best of our professional services, also pay what is a fair recompense. Because the work we do should not only be able to keep us in practice, but should be able to take us home and help us put aside something for a rainy day and uphold the highest standard of professional conduct by ensuring that this order is respected. And all of us have a duty to ensure compliance with this order by policing each other, by being bold enough to report those we know that have violated this law. And I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but Rule 43(2), I think, of the rules of professional conduct says that failure to abide by the provisions of this order amounts to professional misconduct. So a person who knows can make a direct petition to the LPDC, that is the Legal Practitioner Disciplinary Committee. You don't need to be a victim to make a complaint. Or you can report to the Remuneration Committee of the NBA, which is the committee I chair, for investigation. And if a finding be made, then we will present a petition to the LPDC. But the point is, let this order work. Let law firms also apply it and be able to improve on what they pay their staff. Because we must ensure that those who work in the legal profession, who happen to be employed in law firms or some other organizations, are well paid so as to remove the issue of complaints by them. But the law firms must make money and they must run in a business-like manner. Let us not forget that when we talk about law firm management, and employment by law firms, that a larger percentage of young lawyers do not even have the opportunity of being employed in any law firm. They don't work in anywhere. They practice on their own. Even while they to practice on their own, they should also be encouraged and made to see the imperativeness of abiding with the provisions of this order, which, as has been stated by previous speakers, is imperative, is mandatory. While it sets a minimum charge, it does not insist that we charge that. It only insists that we do not go below that, except where otherwise lawfully authorized to charge below it. I thank you for patiently waiting for me, and I apologize for not being physically present. When I confirmed my participation at this program, it was unknown to me. I had accepted an invitation from MBA McCordy branch for this same time, and I thought they were on different dates, and the mix-up led to my agreeing that I'll be physically present, but not physically present today. And I regret that mix-up on my part and say that the error is regretted. I'm hoping that when you hold your next summit, I will be able to attend physically in person. And I will also, in some one way or the other, make out time to meet with the members of the YLF in Kaduna branch and indeed Kaduna State, so that we can also continue to have these discussions, which are aimed at putting the bar forward and ensuring that the right things are done and lawyers are able to earn a proper living and practice the law with dignity. Thank you so very much for your kind understanding and patience.
Okay, right. We are special appreciation to His Excellency, Esquire. Really appreciate continue to guide and guide you right. We appreciate
The first. You do it.
Pastor Abbas. So my young lawyers, we thank you for your support.
Sit down.
We wish everyone the safest of all journeys back to their various. God bless.
My name is Nancha.
Thank you very much, Chairman, Summit Committee. Briefly before we go, we have an announcement by one of our colleagues, Mr. Nanchang Nangwan. I'll call him up to, in 2 minutes, give us an information with respect to a capacity building that is coming up. Mr. Nanchang, please.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, learned folks, live benchers, the chairman of the Young Lawyers Forum. I stand on the existing protocols. My name is Nanchang Nangwan. I want to appreciate the management of the Young Lawyers Forum Kaduna branch for giving me this opportunity. Just briefly, we have been talking about capacity building and the remuneration of lawyers, especially young lawyers. And I appreciate the opportunity given to me to share with you briefly about an aspect of capacity building that you and young lawyers can actually dive into, which is alternative dispute resolution. Now we know that the world is gradually migrating to an amicable way of resolving disputes. And we appreciate the national office, the national MPA, for actually putting up trainings together in line with alternative dispute resolution. Now, here in Kaduna State, we also have an opportunity for young lawyers to come and develop themselves and become trained and certified in alternative dispute resolution. The Settlement House Area Training Institute has actually written a letter through the Kaduna State Multi-Door Courthouse for persons who are interested in becoming certified area practitioners. Those who are interested in becoming certified mediators can actually indicate their interest. I believe that the letter must have gotten to the chairman of this branch. Actually, the training is actually expensive. It's going for the sum of 200,000 naira. But the Kaduna Multi-Door Courthouse, in partnership with Settlement House Area Training Institute, has actually subsidized the price of this training, such that young lawyers of this category are given the opportunity to pay the sum of 50,000 naira only to take part in the training and certification program that is coming up from Monday to Friday next week. Well, senior lawyers have the opportunity to pay 100,000 naira only for the training. Now, for those who are interested in this training, they can actually meet the chairman of Young Lawyers Forum Kaduna branch and indicate their interest. And because of how difficult the times are, the Kaduna State Multi-Door Courthouse and the Settlement House Area Training Institute has provided an avenue, a soft landing. So it has made provision for lawyers who are interested to actually pay in 2 installments. If you are not able to raise the sum of 50,000 naira at once, you can actually pay in 2 installments. So I feel that this is an opportunity for young lawyers to develop themselves, develop their capacity, and have a niche for themselves in the alternative dispute resolution. Please, if you are interested, you can meet the young lawyers chairman and indicate your interest in that regard. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nancha. Gentlemen, we are coming to the end of the meeting. The young lawyers, coordinator, and the chair apologize to the following persons: Sani Katu S.A.N., Sule Shago S.A.N., M.T. Mohammed, S.A. Audu, Max Joe, Meshera Bukade, H.P. Dembo, B.L. Aliyu, Abdul Fatiku, and Abbas Machika. They made arrangement for some awards for you, but they had journalistic problems. They said that I should let you know that in due course, the awards will be delivered to you. Gentlemen, we have come to the end of this summit. I'd like us to rise for the closing prayer. Let us rise for the closing prayer. Gentlemen, let us rise for the closing prayer. Take the next 30 seconds and pray in your own respective faith. Amen. Thank you very much for coming.